the amount of here we are live for day 2 of Evolved Conversations with my beautiful friend Jessica, sitting in her lovely backyard that I've shared many hours just sitting there having great conversations, and it's a special moment to be doing it virtually in this time of transition. Jessica, welcome. And as I said, this is all new for me. I'm not a podcast queen like you are with your beautiful new podcast that I love to tune into. But it's my time, as I said yesterday with Greg, that it's a time to reach out to people that have been so supportive to me over the last couple of years of transition and my life. And you've definitely been one of those people. Every time I transition through LA, or I'm in a dark spot or in a bright light, you're that person that always returns a text message no matter what time or how busy you are. And I'm just so grateful for that human connection that you just bring light to so many people. And literally there's like light beaming through your webcam right now. So just really 30 minutes and we were just having a great conversation before, and maybe we start there and you start with that, how we met at 212. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we met in, was it August or September of 2017?
Yeah.
I know it was right around a breakup for me. It was like right before a breakup, so that's how I kind of remember it. But we met in Denver. It was at a 212 event, 212 IO, I think, right? And we were in a Noah Kagan module, and I'm a fan of Noah's. He's such a character. And we were in sitting across from each other, and there's just a kind of grand absurdity to those things. I mean, you go and you hope for the best and it's cool people, but who knows? Like, the recipe is going to be so contingent on so many variables every moment. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, we just kind of made eye contact and we started talking, and we just didn't stop talking. And then you invited everybody there to New Zealand or Fiji. That's for an event. And I was then I had the breakup, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to Fiji. Like, I'm going to go. I need to like completely hit reset. And it was kind of a revenge trip, I think. Actually, I was like, yeah, dude, I'm going to Fiji by myself. And it was my birthday. And so it was amazing. I don't know. It all came together and we continued the conversation. I think we connected again before Fiji when you were in LA. But we just stayed in touch after that. And little did I know, wasn't aware I was in the midst of such a big transition. And I wasn't aware you were in the front end of a very big transition either. But so it forced us, I think, because time was limited and there was no persona. We just kind of were very real with each other. We didn't have a history. No. Why did we trust each other so quickly? That I don't know. We just,
I'd love to talk about that whole trust and like we invest in going into these communities, and that was 212, and people ask me, Steve, why do you spend so much money, time, and investment in going and being part of these communities? Well, it's because I think they automatically, because it's an application process, and yes, there's a bit of that status around it, but by going to one of these events, it already builds up some psychological safety and trust by the people who are part of them, maybe. And so then we could be able to get to it.
I didn't connect with everybody like I connected with you.
No.
And so I think, I enjoyed, the really smart, cool, interesting people there, but I really connected with you for some reason. And I think it was because you had this interesting background, like being from the Cook Islands and the Fiji thing and New Zealand. There was a very grounded perspective that you brought to the entrepreneurial thing that was unique. Mm-hmm. And we shared that travel thing. Like, I have a huge travel bug. You've built a business on travel. So I think maybe that was it. Like, we connected from this place of being adventurers, spiritual adventures, and emotional.
And then the health and wellness. Obviously, that's both of our little side hustles or excitement pieces. And just an FYI, every time I go through LA, it's a text message to JB. So, how can I get best prepared for my next flight? And literally, she'll rattle off, you need to go and see this person, you need to do this. And literally, I can't wait till she goes live in the health and wellness space. Watch out, world, because it's amazing.
Well, speaking of which, Janae, we should shout out Janae Daria, who I connected with you last time, who's so gifted. And, for those of us who've had health struggles over the course of our lives, you get a pretty good network built. So I have a really good network of talented, helpful people. And it's nice to share it. It's fun to share it.
Yeah, awesome. And then I suppose we just had a deep conversation before we went live around the willingness to be open through these times. And I think it was like, if I'm taking learnings out of each call that I have with the people that are my magical 30, I call them, is how do you feel that people, like, now's the time for people to be more open, because there's psychological safety around virtual connections, which everyone is literally forced to do. There is no other way to connect right now. In many countries, New Zealand's day one of lockdown, I can't go outside. So yeah, how is this going to help evolution right now with?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We were saying earlier, I think every camp has a different take on this. Like if you're in the environmental camp, or if you're in the entrepreneurial camp, or the consciousness camp, like I think everybody has their own take, but it seems to be reset. This is our big reset, a big chance to reset. If you haven't had a chance to reset, this is it. Take advantage of it. The earth gets to reset, cities get to reset, we get to reset. What matters? What matters? If the door is shut and nobody can come in or out, and you can control what comes in or out, that's what matters in that moment.
Wow, yeah, powerful. What matters, and how people will be able to define their reset. We'll all look back at this moment and go, it'll be that pivotal point in life is what did the reset mean to you? What did the reset mean? Like, it's just, as you said, environmental. Like, I think they saw dolphins in the canals of Venice, and
wow.
And in Beijing there was blue sky for the first time. So as you said, we had this deep conversation around biology and trees and how we're connected. Like I watched an amazing movie with Brian Rose from Reconnect. It's about the trees have been around a lot longer than us. And as you just shared with me, 50% of our biology is shared with trees. Like
50% of our DNA, apparently we share 50% of our DNA with trees.
Should we not be suffering potentially through times when people are burning down the forest left, right, and centre? It kind of seems somewhat.
How do we know we're not? How do we know we're not? Yeah,
science hasn't been long around.
I think we are. Whether you look, there's suffering. There's suffering, and suffering you're unaware of. And just because you're unaware of it doesn't mean it's not happening. I think we have a cluelessness bubble that we all live in, that modern life has put us in this. We have the option to opt in or opt out, subscribe or unsubscribe, right? Doesn't mean it's not happening. I think we have this illusion of that it doesn't affect it. Like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. Yeah, it affects you. Are you smelling what I'm stepping in? It's like, yes. I think this illusion of control. Yeah. It's so comical. Like, are you subscribed? Oh, I don't subscribe to that. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter whether you're subscribed or not. It's happening.
Exactly. And yeah, it's everyone's bought into this. In 4 weeks in New Zealand, like it's in our DNA, wonder and curiosity and travel. Like, we're a little island in the middle of the Pacific. So that's the hardest thing for me right now. We were talking beforehand is uncertainty, fear. Yes, we're very evolved humans, both of us, and we keep on evolving. But at the end of the day, there's still an amount of fear and uncertainty. And it's easy to say, act on love, not fear. But it's freaking hard right now. And that uncertainty, not knowing what next week will bring, or the following week, or the next 4 weeks. Yeah. And as a creative yourself, and as you said, you're kind of prepared in your DNA when you're going into your writing space and isolating, but you make that out of choice versus being forced to.
Yeah. This is another level of that. And that took me, so I could coast for a couple days. It was easy for me to coast into my familiars of like, oh yeah, this is cake. I do this all the time. And then something shifted where it's like having even the illusion of an option when you're working is psychological safety net. So having that option removed hit me. I had a delayed reaction to it. And then I was like, oh God, this is scary. This is like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like it. I joked earlier, all people who are single by choice and not in relationship, we all, I think, share in our darker moments, like, am I going to die alone and the dog will have to eat my face to survive? Like, how long would it take somebody to find my body? We're all going to die. Plague is a reminder of that. Hopefully in the wider scheme of plague, this is a more benevolent, merciful plague.
Yeah.
But we're all reminded of our mortality. And you're also reminded of just the fanciful bullshit, excuse my French, of your, illusion of autonomy and your bubble.
The bubble, exactly.
The bubble.
Wow.
I mean, not to get too intense about it, but it's like, yeah, we've all been in a bubble. Yeah. And it's not fun to be in a reminder of your limitation. It's just not a place that I do well in. Being a rebel, I'm always like, a rule. Oh no, I'm going to break it. Don't tell me. Like, I'm a traveler. It's like, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure it out. Like, I can't figure it out. I'm quarantined in my house.
But it's okay not to figure it out. I think both of us, we have some amazing conversations. And I literally bought a candle last night because I was sparring and my brain works in overtime and trying to work out, what do I do? How do this fix? And it was literally going around in circles and I was burning a hole in my ceiling. So I bought a candle, surrender, and let it go all night. So, and then shared the dream I had. And as you said, sometimes we need to, maybe it's the world telling us to sit in discomfort right now, because a lot of us are being comfortable or entitled, and that whole sitting in discomfort and not driving in the driver's seat, I thought was really powerful, what you shared before. So maybe we just need to surrender for 72 hours and just work and then start to come back, as hard as it is for both of us to do.
Yes. So, as you saw, my friend dropped off some food for me because I can't go into grocery stores right now. And so Michael, who I did Mob Queens with, and we were just looking at each other. I was like, oh, I want to hug you. It's just this, like, just seeing him 6 feet away. I was like, oh, you're alive. I miss you. He brought me tequila and potato chips, which I was like,
I was so glad I was part of that moment, because I was like, just witnessing that moment, because I know, you are co-host and obviously very close friends, and tequila, and because obviously it's 9:42 a.m. and it's obviously in the afternoon. So I'm like, someone bringing me tequila and potato chips right now at 9:42 a.m. Interesting, but
well, he texted me a while ago and said, I'm going to Trader Joe's, which is an ordeal now in LA because they're only letting X amount of people in to protect the cashiers, which is smart. So I was like, yes, I only need these two things. It was like treats. And so he brought them. That's how I'm getting through. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect quarantine. It involves a little binging of The Voice and American Idol. I'm loving, I love those shows. I love seeing young, hopeful people with light in their eyes do well and struggle through the challenge as well, like not do well. That's helpful too to me, to see people.
Thank you so much for creating, because my oldest, Lola, who's turning 8 very soon, has just started cheerleading. So what was the first movie I had to show her?
How was that age appropriate? I think that was a little not age appropriate, Steve.
No, well, she watched it, and now she's watching every gymnastics movie, and she really loves.
Did you watch Sticking yet?
Yes, and every gymnastics movie. So, and
there's only one in my mind. Sorry.
And obviously, and that was part of us when we connected. We knew nothing about our backgrounds except for I love travel, you love travel, and sometimes it's so nice not to have the context. what's, and that's why I'm not really sharing too much of the context. Is just like right now is present, and we have a deep connection and friendship and relationship that supports each other. We don't actually need to look at the past. So, but I do want to bring up Mob Queens, and how's that journey been for you? Because obviously it's a massive change in what you've done before, and maybe give some context about Mob Queens.
That's funny you say that. I've been doing a lot of interviews because the 20th anniversary of Bring It On is in August. So there's going to be press coming out about that. And I've done some interviews about it. And one of the reporters asked me that. And I was like, actually, if you think about a mob and what are cheerleaders doing but leading a mob, mob queens and young women who are competing in gymnastics being badasses on apparatus, they're mastering their domains in different ways. So it seems like a stretch, but it really, for me, it isn't. It's just telling a really interesting story about a woman who has been minimized and marginalized in the same way cheerleaders were not taken seriously at all. Very minimized, marginalized. Gymnasts, like, oh, isn't that cute at the Olympics? Oh, look wow, that's, very like, to me, not given their due. Yeah. Right. So, and similarly, here's a wife of a mobster who actually did a lot and created a lot in the culture, and nobody knew her name. And she gave a platform to all these minimized and marginalized people, and was herself complicated and interesting. So, I don't think it's that. I get it. I get why people say that. That said, I'm interested in interesting stories about interesting people doing interesting things, or just surviving in an interesting way, or living in an interesting way. So Mob Queens was Michael and I, who was here. We started, he had found a trove of letters with some friends of his. They were written by drag queens in the 1950s. They kept mentioning this club. We were trying to find out information, and we kept seeing Club 82. That led to finding out about Anna Genovese, and we built up this world. We kind of did 4 years of research, just kind of as friends, like, what is this story? He's doing a documentary. It just got into Tribeca Film Festival. I'm exec producing it. Tribeca was shut down. So it's called P.S. Burn This Letter, Please. So if you're interested in the letters and the drag queens, that documentary, hopefully distributor in the next stretch. But we then did the Mob Queens is a long form audio documentary, AKA very highly produced podcast. We did 12 episodes. So it's 4 years of research, 8 months of development, 11 months of production. It's very high quality. It was very expensive for everybody. It doesn't sound like it, but it took a month to produce every episode. Wow. So that was a big change for us. Working with Claire Rawlinson and Gianna Palmer at Stitcher, working with a team of 6 people to tell Anna's story. Interviewing all the great interviews we did, all the grandkids who spoke to us, all the people who kind of toil in obscurity in different areas that we got to talk to. It was really special. It was a labor of love, and it's done really well. And now we have sold the TV rights, and it's not announced yet, but it'll be announced soon. And we're really excited to have incredible partners. And to get to tell the story in a scripted way for hopefully wider audiences will be exciting.
I'm so proud and so excited for you because, obviously everyone thinks a podcast is just an idea overnight and it just goes and there's a bit of interviews. But seeing you for 4 years, like you mentioned some things along the way and for finally it to air, and I can remember when that first episode aired and there was a lot of like, you and
Sarah were in my car when I played you the trailer, right? You guys were in my car.
Exactly.
That was that's awesome.
To be a part of the journey from a distance, and I think that's maybe it shows that in this time of how things are going to go more virtual, you can still very much be part of someone's journey or a journey from far away. And the 4 years of super hard work, I didn't realize how long it took to actually, like a month to produce each episode. Yeah. People were just banging out of podcasts.
Well, that's a style, and it's a legitimate style. And look, I mean, those are different. That's a different thing, right? An interview podcast is a different format than long form audio documentary. It's a format thing. But yeah, the word podcast, people think, oh yeah, cheap and cheerful.
So what do you think storytelling and I love that blue light that just went through the screen, and creativity, well, how is that going to evolve through these virtual times? Because obviously you've been in Hollywood for, I don't know, a long time, and you can see the shift slowly moving to conventional to Netflix and all these other types of formats. But yeah, what's going to come out of this isolation? And
he's saying it so calmly, but he knows this is just like one of my I can really start to monologue, so I don't want to bore people, but I have a lot to say about that area. I would say there are a lot of horse and buggy businesses, Stone Age businesses, like old school businesses who have been challenged. So like the movie business, I think it's surprising for people to hear that it's actually a really old-fashioned business, because you see, a Marvel movie and you see CGI, you see all these computer effects and you think, oh my God, that's so futuristic. Wow, they're telling the story of the future. But the actual business that's making it is very old world. And so there's been a lot of cultural reluctance in Hollywood to kind of catch up. And they've been caught by surprise, in the same way the music business was caught by surprise. Hollywood has been caught by surprise by streaming. There's a lot of people playing catch up, for better or for worse. And I think it's still very much behind the curve. Like the Netflix algorithm is admittedly imperfect.
Do you think it's going to put this people not going to the movies like 4 weeks? Like, I know it's maybe a short amount of time, but 4 weeks will change habits. Like, what do they say? 21 days to 30 days change habits. But
here's the thing that you and people if anybody sees this may not know, like the movie business has been in a massive contraction since 2008, since YouTube. I mean, so if any business is losing 20% per year, right? That's a big, right? The movies feel bigger because they're Marvel, because they're just doubling down on the bigger movies. So you maybe feel it, but are you actually going to the movies? I think we've seen such a shift in the behavior. Look, before 2007, which I believe is the year the iPhone debuted, it's 2007, 2008. Like, you didn't have a movie studio in your pocket. Now everybody has a movie studio in their pocket. It has completely flipped. So whereas before the studios had the control and the audience had to just accept whatever they were fed and go to the theater and pay for parking and pay for popcorn, you were kind of captive. It has flipped. Mm-hmm. So now the audience is in control. You can choose what, where, when, how you want to see anything. That kind of inversion, that kind of revolution of behavior, it has not happened in very many places in our lifetime, right? It's a revolution, a consumption revolution. So people are still catching up in the old world business, and they either will or they won't. And
do you think my kids will go to the movies, or their kids will go to the movies?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think there is something cool about, it's kind of like the cathedral of the sacred. There is something like, it's like going to church and sitting with strangers in the dark. Like, where else would you do that? So
yeah.
do something bigger than life, right? But I think it's more of I don't know. I think it'll be more of a novelty thing than I wish. I don't know that we need. I don't know who we're becoming.
And which is.
And I think you can project it on your wall at home and have that experience, a larger than life experience with your friends or family.
Yeah,
it's more competitive. It's a different.
I just switched to Samsung, and obviously Samsung's event with the new S20 phone was filmed on an 8K camera and streamed live through 5G, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy. You said.
And we know with all the streaming, the bottlenecking that was happening with streaming delivery, I guess there were some announcements, it can be SD right now with everybody home and streaming. It doesn't need to be such high quality.
Yeah.
When you have this kind of massive demand all at once. I don't know. I think it's going to change. I think it's going to be more like a ride, maybe.
It is. It's and if you had a magic wand, like, and could create or inspire to think differently, change things, and leave your legacy, what would it be?
Dude, I don't know. Right now, that's such a big question. If I could wave my magic wand.
Magic wand's a good one. And change anything right now. Yeah.
If I could change anything right now, I would want more kindness, everybody to treat each other with more kindness. I would think cooperation over competition. I think there's a lot of vestiges of like win-lose mentality and competing, win-lose, competing in the marketplace, compete. Like, I think we need more cooperation and kindness and less competition. And like, I won, like Mimi, I got it. I won. I'm the best. I still see vestiges of this in how it's like.
Yeah. Well, you're in the thick of it, isn't it? Like,
the industry's changing. Like, if you don't understand that it's about cooperation, like I won't. Like recently, I had a very behind the curve methodology, let's call it, that was being used by a lawyer who asked for compartmentalization of communication. Okay. Now, it didn't serve the process or the project or the outcome. Who did it serve? It was a request. We request that you compartmentalize and not talk to these people or these people. And I just was kind of like, who are you? Are you really somebody that believes that is a successful strategy for work, for getting something done? And so I always want to say to people, when somebody's asking you to do something uncomfortable that goes against your values, just ask yourself, who does this serve? Who wins if I comply with that request? And the answer is, I'm not complying with the request. It's a ridiculous request. But that's if culture eats strategy for breakfast, that's the culture at that place. And so good for me to know, like, yeah. I don't want to work with, if that's the culture where you are, like, enjoy.
Do you reckon this time of reset, if we just call it the reset, is maybe that's what it's going to really do, is really bring up, like, will be the sift. It will sift through the goodness, and it will really bring to light the people that are still in, because I don't know if the win-lose mentality will continue to survive and thrive, because
all sports got canceled. I thought it was interesting. Look, there's some March Madness addicts in the U.S. March Madness is like church for basketball for Americans, and and a big revenue generator in terms of it's a big deal, and that got canceled. Like tennis canceled. So it is interesting now that you mention it, that all these competitive events are being postponed, canceled, rescheduled.
Yeah. And just today, the Olympics, which said they would never cancel, have been postponed to 2021. And
those athletes, oh my God, my heart breaks for those athletes. I mean, like, yes, that's a wise thing to do, but like, you're already in an every 4-year sport and training and going for a peak moment. They were probably, oh God, that just sucks for them.
We had our athletes on TV this morning, and yeah, you're right. It's literally that final point on the 22nd of July. That's when I'm right in the final race. And now then, a lot of people were thinking of retiring afterwards. So can you push another year? But yeah, the whole collaboration piece, and obviously my whole life has been about bringing people together and live experiences. And that day we had to postpone our event down in Queenstown, Evolve, which was the deepest and most meaningful, opening minds and hearts for transformational change. Having to postpone that and going, that's my DNA that I've just had to put on pause for right now. But as I said, I'm very fortunate that was our first one versus I'm part of a crisis group where 212 are part of it, mastermind talks, all these great communities.
Yeah.
All bonding together. And I take my hat off to Jason Gaynard from Mastermind Talks, who
so great. Such a great guy.
Put this group together, and everyone is sharing about how to go virtual, how do we evolve out of this? And I'm like, that's pretty awesome. I'm like, if other industries can start banding together and do this, I think we'll come out the other side in a better shape and more evolved.
Yeah.
So
I hope so. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, everybody's experiencing some kind of challenge one way or another.
Exactly. So that's our 30 minutes. And as I started, I just really wanted to take these next 30 days of isolation to pay respect and gratitude to the people that really mean the most to me in my life. And can't wait to get my kids and Sarah on this one as well. The willing and the wise coming together, sharing wisdom across virtually. And thank you for just being such a bright light in my life and supporting me and being that little health guru in LA to make sure that I get through my long haul flights and recharge. And I'm just so excited.
Thank you. And thank you. The feeling's mutual, Steve. Thank you for being such a great ally and friend.
Mob Queens, when can we find out more about?
I don't know when the announcement's going to happen, but you can watch it. You can listen in order on mobqueens.com. You can listen on any place podcasts are served. Start with episode 1. It's 12 half hours roughly. It takes you on a story and a journey, and enjoy. Yeah, thanks.